As many of you will know, I love riding natural trails. They're fun, they're ever-changing, and they're unpredictable. There's no better way to improve your biking than riding a natural trail completely blind for the first time. You have no idea what's coming, so you have to rely on your skills and your reaction times, which can have mixed results. So today I'm headed out to test my skills with a dry and dusty off-piste ride with a few sketchy moments of its own.
Okay, adventure time. Let's find some trails.
And it wasn't long after I set off that I became completely lost, but I found what I was looking for. This first trail is short but sweet, with a pretty spiky ending. This upper part is an interesting descent on relatively loose ground through a thick bit of the woods. There are plenty of branches, trees and roots to contend with, not to mention that it's way steeper than it looks on camera. But don't let me put you off, because this is a really enjoyable trail, and for the most part it's on a pretty good surface. That is, until you start getting to the dusty ruts. Trying to steer when you're in a rut is pretty limiting, and braking on loose pebbles is near on impossible. This being my first run down, I definitely wasn't warmed up, and the pebbles and ruts managed to get the better of me, and led me to get acquainted with a random holly bush. Not exactly happy with that performance, I attempted the steep bit again. On the second run, I decided to give the holly bush a wider berth, and knowing what the trail was like, I feathered my brakes to try and maintain a bit more grip. Luckily for me, I made it to the bottom a bit cleaner than the first time. First trail done.
Well, that was super sketchy. To be honest, I was more worried about going in the holly bush than I was slipping off the trail. Let's go to the next one.
The second trail starts on some familiar terrain, with the nice smooth surface of the marked trails, but it soon takes a nosedive onto some less groomed territory. This section is slightly overgrown and a bit rough and ready, just the kind of thing I enjoy riding. On trails like this, you spend half your time focusing on the undulating terrain, and the other half trying not to whack your handlebars on the closely packed trees. As you make your way down the trail, things start to get really rooty and slightly off camber. Although the dry weather makes this trail a bit dusty and loose, riding these off-camber routes in the winter would be disgustingly horrendous. But as it stands today, these are actually quite fun. Now, you will have noticed that I'm not mentioning where these trails actually are, and unfortunately I'm not going to. Between this video and my Instagram account, there are definitely clues as to where they are, but the reason I'm keeping this location secret is to protect the trail builders who've worked hard to design, build and maintain these lines. Having thousands of people suddenly ride these trails would cause a bit of an issue, and soon we wouldn't be able to ride them anymore, and no one wants that. Back on the trail, we're heading into the last section, which finishes with a bang. As you come out of the dense woodland, the trail speeds up a bit. As you will have noticed, visibility isn't amazing on this part of the trail, and I'm aware that there's a steep drop somewhere to my left, so I took this lower part with a bit of caution. The final move is a steep dusty S-bend drop, which my enduro bike handles with ease. Despite this last tricky manoeuvre, this is actually one of the easiest trails I rode today, and is nothing compared to this next one.
So at this point in the ride, I don't really know where I am, but I've just found a really good looking trail right in front of me, and I think I'm going to give it a go.
This trail is my favourite one that I rode today. Starting on the top of this ridge, you eventually make your way down out of the woods towards a faster section, some jumps, and a loose rutty finish. With the ever-changing nature of these trails, you can sometimes feel like you aren't riding to your fullest. Even if you know where you're going, natural trails like these are always changing, so it's best not to take them flat out, especially on your first run. Because I never know where I'm going on trails like these, my riding is never polished. It's more like falling with style, except without the style. You just have to make it up as you go along and rely on your instincts. Getting to this lower section, you have a sandy S-bend, and then you've got to get on the gas ready for two small gaps. They come up quickly if you're not expecting them. After this, you make your way to the bottom of the trail using this dusty S-bend gully. This eventually spits you out onto some more dusty corners. There's plenty to enjoy on this trail, and hopefully you can see why I like it. It's one that I'll be riding again if I can find my way back here. Of course, exploring awesome off-piste trails comes with one downside: the mega climbs in between. Not knowing exactly where you are, you always hope you're going in the right direction, but today these climbs were well worth it for the epic trails that I found. And I had one more trail to explore.
Okay, so the adventure's hotting up a bit. I've just found 2 trails behind me. No idea where I am. I don't know where they go, what they're like. They could have any feature on them. So let's just pick one and give it a go. Okay, next random trail. We're going left.
It appears that my system of picking random trails to ride has been working out pretty well for me today. And this trail is no different. The top section starts with a slalom track through the woods on a rather mellow descent. After some of the steeper loose trails I've ridden today, this was actually a nice change of pace, but it doesn't stay this way. As it turns out, this is one of the longest trails that I rode today, and it has a variety of different terrain to contend with. Once you're out of the woods, you get a brief glimpse of the sunlight, the green trees and the amazing world around you, before diving straight back into the bushes again. And in here, things get really close. You thought the top section was tight, this one is an action-packed route through a completely new part of the forest for me. For this trail, you really do have to keep your eyes on the route ahead. After my close call with the holly bush on the first trail, I want to do my best to avoid any more bushes on this ride. I've really had my fill of spiky plants for today. Ideally, you want your riding to be proactive, setting your line, preparing for the next feature, and making the right moves to tackle what you're about to ride next. In reality, for me, this type of riding is more reactive. Without being able to see much more than a couple of meters in front of you in places, you have to react to what you're seeing and try and make it down the trail as cleanly and effectively as you can. This, of course, isn't always possible, but being able to stay on your bike is a big bonus. As you're currently being mesmerised by the constant twisting and turning of the trail, I should remind you all that if you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All my content is free, so you can go and check out some other cool videos after you've watched this one. Meanwhile, back on the trail, I'm still making my final descent down this random route. After making what seems like my 100th turn of the day, I eventually popped out on a fire road. But no matter how good the trails are on a ride like this, I always find myself asking the same awkward question at the end of the ride.
I wonder how I get back to the car from here.
Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.